Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 12, Episode number 76. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us here on this Wednesday, Dave, as we start looking towards Super Wildcard Weekend. Steelers play the Chiefs Sunday night, 8:15 on NBC. Dave, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm not very well rested though. We got to admit that at least I was starting to put things into action to get some get the off-season content rolling out this week, and talking about free agents and was really geared up towards that. And man, the Steelers went and messed it up and got the playoffs, didn't they? But no, that's obviously a good thing there. But I had to move a few things around here, and man, even we even got treated yesterday to seeing Ben Roethlisberger in a Raiders helmet. So what a crazy last couple of days it's been.
Yeah, that was a really cool video. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's on Steelers Depot, sticky to the top of the page. He was apparently FaceTiming with a couple of buddies of his and captured the reaction to the end of the Raiders-Chargers game, the game-winning kick by Carlson. And it's kind of even more funny because apparently his buddies, the feed was ahead for them. So Ben was behind on his personal television. And so he got to see the reaction from his friends first and then got to watch it on his television, the Carlson made kick. And you think the guy still loves the game? I think he does. I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, absolutely. And money doesn't buy you on-time feeds, does it?
Apparently not.
I think I'd have that T1 line checked out or whatnot. I got that kind of money. You can make sure I want to know things are almost happening in real time. But no, that was boy, how bad would that have sucked, Alex? I know the thought ran through my head a couple of times in the middle or towards the end of that game there when you're trying to think, oh man, we got to get a post ready on this, and about a potential tie, or had that game tied or whatnot between the Raiders and the Chargers. I mean, that's something that we haven't really talked a lot about. It's almost like the elephant in the room, I guess. Man, Roethlisberger's career could be over right now, and not because he lost the game, lost the game against the Ravens and all like that. So, you fight. They had to overcome all those odds that we talked about the other day on Sunday, and the Jaguars beating the Colts, and the Steelers obviously needing to beat the Ravens. But the third leg of that thing that needed to happen, the thing that seemed the most given thing, wound up being the thing that was most in question. So it was, seeing that video yesterday of him kind of rooting that thing through and having that Raiders helmet on really adds some perspective to it. And you're right. This guy, and we've known it for a while, super competitive guy. And that guy was not ready to get bounced from the playoffs Sunday night.
Had that game ended in a tie, I think it would have been the worst way for Ben's career to end. Even losing to the Ravens in itself might not have been as bad, in the sense of at least you go out on the field and not on your couch by yourself after you've been thinking for hours that you're going to make the playoffs. Because after Jacksonville beat the Colts and Pittsburgh beat Baltimore, everyone, myself included, assumed that the Chargers game was just a formality, that there was no chance the game would end in a tie, and that they weren't going to kneel down the entire game and do all that kind of crazy, speculative stuff. And so the roller coaster of emotions, would have been a horrible way for Ben to have his season and his career ended on his couch at 12:15 in the morning after thinking for the last 6 hours, we're going to the playoffs.
If one owned a tinfoil hat with a tight chin strap,
you might know a guy.
Know a guy who knows a guy. One might think that these stars are kind of lining up here for some stuff here. Now, obviously, one game at a time, but the way all that transpired on Sunday kind of makes you think, about another force in the universe, if you will.
You got the 05, bet is 5, you sneak in, because that team was looking pretty rough for a point there. They lost a couple in a row and they rattle off 3 straight to win the regular season, sneak in the 6th spot. And so, yeah, you never know. But yeah, I think you being in Vegas has added a bigger tinfoil hat to your head. You're out there, you're near McCarran Airport, Janet Airlines, Area 51. You got this whole conspiracy thing going on there.
Yeah, look, and over the years, having that back door kicked in by the man quite a few times, I might as well get closer to my money out here, right? But look, I mean, it is what it is at this point, and nobody's given this team. I understand, and obviously so. Nobody's given this team a chance on Sunday, and we're fixing to talk about or Sunday night. We're fixing to talk about what all Mike Tomlin had to say in his press conference on Tuesday. There, Mike Tomlin was mighty loose. At least it felt like during that press conference. Not a care in the world. He evidently dozed off at the end of that Raiders-Chargers game, not worried about a thing, and he says it's probably a good thing that he did. So look, this ought to. I guess what I'm getting at is this team, doesn't have anything to lose other than obviously a super wild card game, but the pressure's not on them this week to win that game. It is, but it isn't. The pressure is going to be on how big are the Chiefs, how bad are the Chiefs going to beat the Steelers, and this is just really a bye week for the Chiefs, just having to go through the motions and not get people injured, yada yada. So if you were going to be a sort of this kind of underdog in the postseason tournament, why not be this kind of underdog, I guess? And, once again, every week has potentially been Roethlisberger's last NFL game on top of that. And that's going to have some significance, at least in the Steelers locker room moving forward.
Sure. The Chiefs have all the expectations in the world, not only to win this game, but to be a Super Bowl favorite, even though they are the 2 seed. I think most people pick them as the AFC team to represent the conference in the Super Bowl, while the Steelers are playing with literally zero expectations. Most people are just going, how did they get here? I love the quip from the power rankings yesterday about the Steelers being the zombie that no one can seem to kill and get rid of. And so that just kind of sums up where Pittsburgh is at.
Yeah, absolutely. And I dared look. I mean, every week I write up what the line is and all like that, and kind of give a quick preview of a game every week. And Monday was no different because of the team. Obviously being in the playoffs, and the line opened up, I think initially at 13. I think it's dipped down to like 12 and a half here. I researched this out because it's rare for the Steelers to be double digit underdogs regardless. And for them to be, 12 and a half, 13-point underdogs, I researched on Pro Football Reference here. Only 3 times, Alex, in the Super Bowl era have the Steelers been 12-point or more underdogs in a game. One of those times was just a few weeks ago, week 16 against the Chiefs. The previous time to that was Super Bowl 30 against the Cowboys. And prior to that, it was week 1 of the 1992 season, which, by the way, that was Bill Cowher's first game as the organization's head coach, that game against the Oilers. Now, the Steelers won that week 1 game in 1992 against the Oilers there, and obviously, covered the spread there. They also, I think they covered the spread. They didn't win Super Bowl 30 against the Cowboys, but they covered the spread in that one. And obviously they did not cover the spread back in week 16 against the Chiefs, big underdogs there. So this is kind of a rare rare occurrence for the Steelers here, if you will, being this big of an underdog. We'll see what the line ends up closing at. I can't imagine that it would sneak under 12 come game time. Probably some money going to start doing some research here, some of the smart money, and I wouldn't be surprised if a couple people load up on that 12.5 points. I know it's very tempting to do, and thus I think it might end up being a 12-point line by the time this thing kicks off.
We talked about trick plays and fakes and all that on Monday. In that 92 game, they ran a fake punt, Cowher did, and pulled it off. So maybe you do the same this time around.
Seems like you had to do an onside kick too, didn't you? And didn't they do a surprise onside kick in the game in the Super Bowl 32?
Yeah, I believe so. Didn't Bobby April, I want to say, called that one? There was a story, I think, behind that. But yeah, obviously Neil O'Donnell erased any of that trickery, excuse me. But
evidently, reading some prominent blue checkmark person on Twitter this past week, Neil O'Donnell, I think, won Super Bowl 30.
Oh yeah, that was fun on Twitter. All right, Dave, let's get to the news.
One final thing on this, and because of a lot of the NFL.com picks coming in here, it's a clean sweep of the 10 writers, I guess, contributors every week are all picking the Chiefs to beat the Steelers on Sunday. And I tweeted out, well, at least the expectations are low. Should be a loose Steelers team on Sunday night. I look forward to watching Deontay Johnson throw a touchdown pass, Chris Boswell pulling off a great Wabona onside kick, and Derek Watt scoring on a wheel route. So, Alex, write that down.
I think the Rabona is more likely than the Watt wheel route at this point. I'll throw a wheel route to TJ before I throw it to Derek. I'll tell you that much.
All right. Get us on track, brother Alex.
I will do my best here.
By the way, did you get any dating offers yet? Or
barren wasteland over here, unless you're just not forwarding them to me and you're just holding out. I don't know.
I wouldn't do that to you.
No. All right. I appreciate you as my wingman. I don't know if you're effective, but you're honest, and I respect it. All right, Dave, I'm going to really try to get us back on track now.
Those are two words that are rarely used in a sentence.
What's that?
Me. Honor and respected.
Oh, don't say that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, plenty of it. All right, Dave. I want to talk about Mike Tomlin here in a moment, his press conference, injury report, the things he had to say, but a piece of news here that came across, actually two pieces of news that came across on Wednesday morning. One, Jerry Dulac reporting that Keith Butler, defensive coordinator, is back with the team after missing Sunday's game and the back half of practice last week due to being in COVID protocols. So very glad that Butler is healthy, feeling good, and back with the club. Also, ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting on Wednesday morning the Chicago Bears are requesting an interview with Steelers football VP and business administration man, better known as the cap guy, Omar Khan, for their open GM spot. So Chicago looking to interview Khan as their GM spot becomes available after firing Ryan Pace on Black Monday. And so, we'll see what happens there. Khan's gotten plenty of looks before in the past and has not ever obviously been officially hired by a team, but we'll see what happens there. And the fact that, assuming the Khan does interview, which I view as just a formality at this point, given the news about Kevin Colbert, there is still some, dispute in the report there, but all that to say that if Khan is interviewing for other jobs at this point, kind of tells me he doesn't think he's going to be the next heir to Colbert either this year or next.
Well, you've got your tinfoil hat on this morning, don't you?
A little bit. I borrowed it, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, and we don't know what teams may or may not this is obviously one of the first reports here. This time of year, usually though, right out of the chute, or at least at some point during the process, we hear Omar Khan's name. It almost becomes kind of an annual thing at this point, right? When is Omar Khan's interview or two going to happen? I don't know if he just doesn't interview well. As you kind of highlighted, I think in that last podcast as well too. It seemed like he was the selection for the Texans until they all of a sudden reversed gears there and went the other direction that they ended up going in. Does this mean anything as far as Kevin Colbert's potential future? I suppose. I suppose you can read into it that way. But but maybe the Steelers really don't know which way Kevin Colbert's going yet either to be able to tell Omar Khan, hang on, just hang on, kind of way. So, and look, I mean, accepting the interview doesn't mean you have to accept a job on top of it. And at least it gets your name out there and continues circulation on top of it. So once again, obviously the Steelers season hasn't come to an end just yet. And one would think and hope that not long after it does, whenever the Art Rooney bat signal goes up, that around that time, hopefully we'll have an idea whether or not Kevin Colbert is indeed staying or if he plans on retiring.
I'll put it this way. If Colbert does plan on retiring at any point this year, whether that's in a couple of weeks or after the draft, and Khan is interviewing for other jobs, and that would really strongly tell me that he doesn't believe in either's been told or just knows that he's not going to be the next GM of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it would go to Brandon Hunt or someone else, but more likely than not, Brandon Hunt. And so, again, the information on Colbert's still murky right now, but if he is going to be done and Khan's looking elsewhere, those dots are pretty easy to connect.
Yeah, look, I don't have a good feeling of which way this is going to go, to be honest with you. We're talking about a guy that's been with the organization since 2000, and we're talking about a guy that now for several years saying going on a year-to-year basis here. We also have two guys seemingly behind him in Omar Khan and Brandon Hunt, who we've viewed as being one of the two going to be the successor to Colbert whenever it happens. Now it's just a matter of when it's going to happen. And, I don't have a good feel for what's going to transpire here in the next, 6-8 weeks.
Sure, I think we're all in wait and see mode, but just to dial in on Khan for a moment, if he does go, that's a huge loss for Pittsburgh. Don't overlook how big of a loss that would be. Talk about guys that have been here for a long time. Colbert since 2000. Khan has been with Pittsburgh since 2001. And so he has been their cap guy, their lead guy in that role for a long, long time, obviously. And they don't really have a great in-house replacement. They hired somebody, Samir Suleiman, who was basically going to be Khan's heir. And then once David Tepper became owner of the Panthers, he poached Samir and hired him in Carolina for a similar, but I think bigger role. And so they did hire a guy to replace him, Cole Marco, but he's pretty new, pretty young. Would he become the new cap guy? It's hard to say, but Khan's role in the front office on this team is really valuable, and I don't want to overlook how big of a loss that would be for the organization, especially in a year where Ben were to retire and Colbert were to retire. You are losing some really key pieces.
And at this point, I would like to let the listeners know the Steelers have not contacted my wife asking permission to interview me to be the new cap person for the Steelers. There,
good to know.
I guess what I'm getting at here is I respect the heck. You know me. If they made an Omar Khan fathead, I'd probably have it up on my wall. The skills of what Omar does on the contractual side are obviously better than those of mine, but I do have a firm grasp of that at this point, and thus, I bet if you have the proper tools to help plan this out better and know the kind of percentages, I guess what I'm getting at here is that Omar Khan and what he does, at least on the contractual cap management side of things, is not irreplaceable.
No, it's not irreplaceable, but do they have a guy to replace him right now? Probably not, if I had to venture a guess.
Okay. And I don't know how much Hunt has learned that aspect of side of things either. And that's maybe another element too. But look, it would be a loss, obviously, there, but probably not to the degree as some fans might make it out to be. But here's the plus side. If you did lose one of them, 3 or 2 back-to-back third-round compensatory picks.
Right, yeah. If Omar Khan is hired as GM as an outside by an outside organization, Pittsburgh would get 2 comp picks. That would be for the 2022 and 2023 draft, a third-round pick in each of those drafts. And so that's that new rule that the resolution the NFL passed in November, I think, of 2020 it was, or proposed, or recent rule change there. And so that would be one benefit and one silver lining.
All right.
All right, Dave, let's get to Mike Tomlin here and his Tuesday press conference. Started things off here with the injury report and going through a couple of names. Did mention Najee Harris with the elbow injury suffered on the first drive of the Sunday win over Baltimore. Said that it's probably going to slow him early in the week, but he was optimistic that Harris will play against the Chiefs Sunday night. Ditto with Arthur Millette, evaluated with a concussion, and Robert Spillane with a knee, and mentioned James Washington being in COVID protocol, and we'll just have to see what happens there. But Millette, Harris, Spillane, Tomlin, optimistic on all three guys.
Yeah, sounds optimistic. I don't think we knew after the game that Spillane may have dinged up that knee again there. So that'll obviously be a name to watch, along with Najee Harris and that elbow with him. We'll see how long it takes Arthur Millette to tell that guy he needs to have a helmet on, right? Didn't he try to have one play there maybe with the helmet off, or got it on right before the start of the play there? I think you pointed that out on the Twitter machine there. James Washington has yet to come off of the COVID list. I guess keep your fingers crossed that will happen. Mike Tomlin talked about him still being on that list yesterday, still being in COVID protocol. And then Dan Moore Jr. Have a chance this week and scheduled to participate starting tomorrow, which tomorrow being today being Wednesday. So we'll have to see what the injury report has to say about that there. Really, other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, the play is looking pretty good so far. All things being equal here, this seems like a decently healthy bunch this week. And things can happen during the week, obviously, but I wouldn't expect the Wednesday practice report to be too lengthy with players not practicing.
We'll have our eyes on one Kevin Dotson, and probably by the time people are listening to this, we'll have our answer on Dotson. But today is the day he has to be activated, correct, Dave?
Today is I think the 21st day, because he got activated on a Wednesday, right? 3 weeks ago. So, and obviously you'd want it, if he's going to have any chance to play, you're going to want him out there practicing today anyway, right? When the team resumes. So today would be the day we would expect something to come across the Twitter machine if they're going to activate him. If they do not, then he stays on IR. There.
Right. And is not eligible to return at any point this season, correct?
That would be correct. So, to me, barring him having some sort of setback with that ankle, I'm expecting him to get activated today. And if I took my shoes off and counted this up like 13 times, they have 53 guys on their active roster right now, not counting obviously Dotson, who's on IR, and James Washington on COVID. So 53 plus those two guys. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, 55 is more than 53. And so thus, if either one of those guys gets activated from one of those lists, a reciprocal move of some sort is going to have to be made. And I researched it out. I think we talked the other day about the possibility of Tigray Scales being one of those guys. Even if you could cut Tigray Scales if you want to, but you still have to pay him for this week. And he still has to occupy a spot on your roster, even if you cut him. So you don't gain anything in that aspect of cutting him, unless there's something that I'm missing when it comes to rules, because I believe that carries over into the postseason as well there. So that's not an option for you. Your team does, however, have two punters on their 53-man roster. So one would think if one of those two guys, if you're needing a spot now you do have, I suppose you could make a move on your defensive line. I think you have an extra body there. Is there a guy going to have to go to, COVID here in the next 24 hours that we don't know about that's going to help open up, a spot that way? I don't know. But if today is the day for Dotson, then that move has to be made today, and then thus there should be a reciprocal move that comes along with it.
Yeah, it's a great point. Who, I'm going to get in the weeds here, but it's kind of what we do. Who replaced Bugs whenever Bugs was released? Who took his spot? Does that make sense? Because they released him. I didn't remember them signing anyone to replace Buggs' spot on the 53 unless Coward is staying, but I think he went back down to the practice squad.
Yeah, Coward reverted for sure.
Because when they released Buggs, they didn't sign anyone else. It was they activated guys off of COVID, so maybe that took a spot, I guess, when they activated Hayden and Green.
Because I think they had one too many there. I think they were rolling. In other words, I think they were rolling one short, and then they added two.
Okay, all right, that makes sense.
And then one went off. I'm gonna have to draw. You got me thinking. They activated Hayden and Green on the 8th. They activated Hayden and Green from the reserve COVID list, and they placed James Washington on the reserve COVID list, and then elevated Rashad Coward to the active inactive list from the practice squad. They were able to go over because they had the extra because of Coward going over. So they must have went into it being that they had Hayden and Green up. They must have had an open spot at some point there, I guess, temporarily.
Okay. Yeah, it's so hard to follow. I've almost just given up on trying to track all those things because it's been so chaotic in this COVID world here. But yeah, in terms of the roster moves, I don't know. I mean, punter would obviously make sense, but Tomlin said they're not going to make a decision on that till later in the week in terms of who the starting punter will be, Waitman or Harvin for the wildcard game. So do you cut one of those guys? I mean, I think you would speculate that you could bring back Waitman later in the week, but then he's not practicing, and it kind of feels like you kind of go with Harvin at that point. So, I mean, there's a lot of intrigue there.
Hey, this team has been good at chess, not checkers, when it comes to some of these weekend practice squad moves. And it really got me thinking after that Tomlin press conference yesterday, and it was part of my terrible take yesterday afternoon as well, too. I suppose that if you really just did not want to outright cut Harvin, but yet you did not want him, you wound up not liking how he practiced, and ended up not wanting him punting Sunday night against the Chiefs. I guess what you could do is you could waive Waitman now, let him clear, sign him to your practice squad on Friday, and then elevate him as a Saturday player, whether it be either COVID or not COVID, and elevate him on Saturday, and then still carry two punters to Kansas City and make Harvin inactive and let Waitman punt. Does that make sense?
It does. I guess the only downside there is you lose a day of practice reps with Waitman when he's being cut and going through waivers. But if that's the best option, I mean, it makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, but don't they have parks in Pittsburgh or something where
Rooney gives him the key to share like they did the punchback and walkout?
Send Christian Coots and Boswell out to the park, if you get my get what I'm saying there. I mean, there's ways around this, obviously, and that's just me trying to think.
Makes sense though. I mean, because who else are they going to cut? You think about a Cody White, but he's played a lot of special teams. I don't think they're going to cut a Cody White. They could. Right.
I mean, and they could, and they don't even have James Washington back yet. I mean, I suppose you could. I mean, are you going to use, if you didn't use all three tight ends, if you knew that you were going to not dress all three tight ends, I suppose you could cut Rader, right? But I mean, he been pretty solid on special teams as of late. Didn't you point that out?
Yeah. I wouldn't expect them to cut Rader unless there's an IR, someone's going on injured reserve or that we're not aware of, or COVID. Yeah, but it'll be interesting for sure. There's a lot of intrigue here, and I really don't know which direction it's going to go. Of course, Kevin Dodson may not get activated at all. I mean, that could be a possibility as well. It's been this long, and they may not think he's ready or conditioned or just happy with the glue. So this could all be moot for all we know.
I have a feeling they have it drawn out a lot better than us and probably have a better idea what's going to happen.
I sure hope so, at least.
Well, here's something else to think about, too. They've been playing swapsies back and forth with Sam Sloman, the kicker, and Tyler Vaughns as well, too. I'm not so sure that we won't see that happen again on Friday either, with Sloman getting signed to the practice squad and Vaughns going off the practice squad just in case some COVID issue happens over the weekend where they need a kicker, and that way they would have Sloman.
Yeah, I'm almost positive that'll keep happening. And that's smart. You sign the guy late in the week and then cut him, so you have the roster spot there for the week practice, and then you bring him back late in the week and just have him there as a, in the case of emergency, kind of guy.
All right. Way too much minutia, but I love stepping into minutia.
All right, Dave, let's get to the rest of the Mike Tomlin press conference. Here again, mentioned the punter situation. Tomlin said he's in no hurry to make a decision there. What else did Mike Tomlin have to say that caught your attention yesterday?
Sort of like gratuitous nudity, which you're not old enough, evidently, here, but we got some gratuitous J.C. Hassenauer praise.
Yeah, and I know Tomlin's been asked about Hassenauer a couple times and continued to speak highly of him and talked about the communication and just how professional he's been. He said, quote, "I just appreciate JC, his professional approach, his communication skills, his desire to communicate and be a hub of communication, embracing that component of the position." Did say with Green, there'll still be some decisions to be made there, but I think based on the way Hassenauer has played, which has not been spectacular, but it has been, I think, steadier, more consistent, and overall just better than Kendrick Green, I'm fully expecting Hassenauer to start Sunday against KC.
The Kendrick Green fan club really has been trying to come after and parse a lot of what we write and say. I think, and I think we have made it pretty clear right out of shoot that JC has had his issues in these games, and in no way, shape, or form are Alex thinking that his flag is planted that this guy should be an NFL center past this year and all. But in the same breath, his play has been 3 times that of Kendrick Green, in my opinion. Yeah, he gets pushed back. Yeah, he's on the ground a couple times, but it's not as nowhere near as notable as what has transpired with Kendrick Green. And I think Tomlin highlighting his communication skills and all like that. There's nothing else other to believe other than to think that JC's going to start this game on Sunday night against the Chiefs at center.
Right. That's the way it's been.
That's the right move too, by the way.
Yeah. It's just your best guy, and it's the postseason. You play your best guys, bottom line, nothing else matters. And so that's what I think they'll do.
All right. What if you do get Kevin Dotson back this week?
Yeah. I mean, if you're activating him, it's probably not to be a backup. I think Lou has held his own, and I think his story is really cool, and I love watching the guy on tape from an effort, chase, running downfield kind of standpoint, but I think Kevin Dotson starts if you're going to activate him.
I do as well.
Get that run game hopefully going a bit there. It's going to be so important. It wasn't good enough against the Chiefs in Week 16. Needs to be better this time around, especially if they're going to see a lot of too high, which they probably will, so they're calling on Pittsburgh and daring Pittsburgh to run the ball, and you better do it.
You better do it. I mean, you got draft pick. I mean, you went into this season with the mandate of fixing the run game, and it hasn't. I mean, there's been a few bright spots here, and especially a little bit recently. Not totality against the Ravens, but at least you ended on a good note with that. What was it, 15 yard run there, and that's ending on a high note. That was obviously a key play in that game. Shame on Jimmy Smith for letting that get outside, but you can't. I mean, you got to run against how the other guy doesn't defend properly, and that's what they did on that play. It was a big running play in that game. Going back to obviously against the game against who was it, Cleveland, and having the success that you had in there. If you want to have any chance at winning this game against the Chiefs, you're going to have to ball control, and you're going to have to run the football early so you can run the football late.
Absolutely. That'll be a big key. So a lot of decisions to be made for Pittsburgh here in the coming days. Mike Tomlin also talking about the need to create splash in special teams and not allow splash by the Chiefs' strong return units, which have been top 10 in both kick return and punt return this season. And so it was interesting to hear Tomlin not only talk about that, but lead off the conversation about the Chiefs in terms of special teams. You could talk about Mahomes or Chris Jones or Tyrann Mathieu. He decided to talk about the impact of special teams. And so that's kind of, I think, a very clear and planned message about A, the importance of it, and B, how Pittsburgh has to step up there and make plays or not allow big plays at the very least.
Yeah, look, they're going to have to steal a possession or two in this game. I think we agree on that. And one of those might have to be on special teams. Boy, when was the last time a punt or kick return for a touchdown, Alex, Mr. Special Teams guy?
The last kick return was Juju against the Browns in Week 17.
Right. When was the last punt return for a touchdown?
It's been a while.
Has it been? Was it AB hugging the goalpost against the Colts?
It's a very good question. I'm probably not going to be able to get the information right now. I can try to check. Obviously, though, you've gotten block punts, and so you've gotten 2 of those this year from Miles Killebrew. One became a touchdown. One put you in a almost goal-to-go situation against the Chargers. And so, whether that's forced fumble, a block punt, obviously a splash play in the return game for McLeod, anything would be monster and massive there.
Deontay Johnson returned 1 against the Arizona Cardinals.
Okay, I forget the one everyone yelled at me for because I yelled at him the week before about bad punt returns. So
how the heck did you forget that one?
I tried to block it out. Yeah, you forgot it too.
All right, but I mean that's obviously, and look, Killebrew has a couple of key block punts. Whatever it takes this week, I'm anything that I think the opponent hasn't seen before, that I even might have just 60% or more confidence in. I think I'm running it this week, but I'm not running a flea flicker to Ray McLeod. I just want to get that out there.
Very good point. I'm glad you clarified. Anything else from Tomlin? I don't think there was a whole lot. Yes, he was shorter. His answers were shorter, and he was just kind of seemed more focused and just.
Did he seem looser to you, or am I reading too much?
Yeah, I don't think he seemed looser. He just seemed he seemed like he dialed it down. It was very focused. It wasn't. It was like quiet confidence is kind of the way I felt about it.
I mean, did it feel different in some aspect then?
Sure, it felt different. Like it felt, but it didn't. I don't want to say he was tight, but it wasn't like this.
He wasn't real enough knock jokes or anything like that, But to me, he just felt a little bit looser. I don't know. Maybe I was reading a little bit too much into it.
Yeah, I think it was a confident thing. It didn't feel like the Conor McGregor, like you're dancing around. It just felt very just like dialed in. Is kind of the phrase I'm using for it. Anyway. Mike Tomlin did say that there could be significant but subtle changes against the Chiefs. Obviously, when you lose 36-10 after just playing them 3 weeks ago, you're going to make some changes there. What those changes will be, we'll have to see how well they will work. Again, we'll have to see. But that was the response from Tomlin.
We were asked kind of a question along those lines, I think, in the live stream the other night, and it was interesting to. Kind of contextual. Help me out here.
Put in context. I don't know what you're trying to get at.
Contextualize Tomlin's response there to that question about things that might change up here. More than anything, do you have the whole paragraph there
about him making changes?
Right.
I can pull it up. I have the transcript. I got to find exactly where it was at.
Because I thought it was quite interesting how the changes are subtle for those that aren't in our business. The changes are significant for those that are. Not only changes that mean we make, but changes also that they make. When you're watching the game at home through the lens of a television camera, it might not be significant. But the things that you do in these matchups, the alterations that you make in terms of concepts that you employ, whether it's offensive concepts or defensive concepts, are very significant. And particularly in situational football, possession downs, red zone, 2-minute, etc. So what is he trying to tell us there? Formations, route combination. People think that you go into people will probably try to take this and twist it another way. It's not that you're coming up with new plays, so to speak, but what you are going to potentially change up, or you're going to run maybe out of a formation this different route combination against maybe a too high look, or if they see single high, those are the alterations that Joe Joe fan at home doesn't necessarily see through the lens of the television camera that are very important week in, week out with a team.
Sure. Well said. That's the subtlety of it. You're just tweaking your calls, what you're going to call in low red zone, what your third and 7+ package is going to look like, and some stuff like that, I'm sure. So it may not be the most obvious things where it's this big philosophical approach. That's not going to happen. There's simply not the time to allow it, even if you wanted to, which you really wouldn't want to make those sweeping changes in just a couple of days anyway. So yeah, it's that chess match you're just trying to always win or get ahead of.
Right.
All right, I think it's kind of it for Mike Tomlin. Anything else there, though, Dave, on the Tomlin front?
Boy, he had quite the compliment for Patrick Mahomes and his pulse rate, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, the superlatives on Mahomes are endless, and it's talked about the low pulse rate and ability to stay in the pocket and run around for 5-6 seconds and not be fazed by seemingly anything. And so, Tomlin did say you can't play the same coverages against him, which is true. But man, blitzing him, you better be smart with when and how you blitz him. Maybe some safe pressures, some 4-man blitzes. Pittsburgh really did not blitz Mahomes in the first matchup, and maybe it's different this time to do something different. But blitzing Mahomes is usually a bad answer for defenses.
Right, and I thought another aspect of what he had to say was in so many words that while this is a relatively young team, I kind of took it in so many words of him saying that this team's been through a lot and kind of hardened up a little bit throughout the season because of all the challenges that they faced.
Yeah, I mean, you think about, sure, there's a bunch of rookies playing, but they've been playing all season long. They're not really rookies anymore. You got Harris and Freiermuth and Moore, and obviously Green has played a lot, probably won't start this weekend, but those are guys who are battle-tested, and it's not like they came on late in the season or have had, bit roles. I mean, they probably do not feel like rookies right now. They're not playing like rookies.
All right. Overall, probably one of, a little bit more entertaining press conference than usual. Do you buy that he dozed off at the end of that game?
I do, because he's an old man and he was burned off all that energy dancing in the locker room. Okay. I could see him. He's definitely like has big fall asleep in your recliner. I'm just resting my eyes energy. Tomlin does.
I'm not buying it, but
you don't. Why would he say that? Why would he?
I don't see how you. With that on the line, I don't see how you could doze off in that. In that situation.
Well, I think he's saying that he dozed off when they were up by like 15 or 12, and just thought, okay, this is not going to end in the tie, and then fell asleep because he's old man. Tomlin did praise Terrell Edmonds, by the way, just for kind of his can do and good attitude, and I thought he played well against Baltimore. Had a couple of breakups, 2 on Mark Andrews. I mean, I think he's got to work. Understanding leverage is still an issue for Terrell Edmonds in terms of where his help is at. There was one play that I saw that in the tape, but there's been improvement there.
But we've seen that even going back to the Green Bay game, I think, but look, he doesn't get enough credit, I think, for the last couple of weeks with Edmonds, and he's going to have that defense obviously going to have a tall task, assuming Tyreek Hill is over that heel injury, and of course they will have Travis Kelce back, or should have him back this week as well too. And they didn't have him but it didn't matter that last time. They did a good job of getting the football to other eligibles, and those backup fungible running backs of theirs ran wild. So going to be interesting to see how the Steelers try to attack it this time.
For sure. All right, Dave, let's talk about the All-22 review of the Ravens game before we get to the Chiefs game. Should mention, by the way, I should have done this earlier. I'm a poor planner with these things. We'll have a Chiefs beat writer on Friday, Adam Teicher, who we had on for the Week 16 game to talk about the Chiefs. So we'll have a preview on Friday's show, not today's show. Dave, what stuck out from you from the All-22 of the Ravens game?
I think the last drive offensively more than anything there. I don't think John LeGlue had a great game. I think I pointed out the other day after watching some of the TV tape there, didn't have a great game overall there. More than anything, the thing that stuck out to me was on the defensive side of the ball. The offensive side of the ball wasn't as exciting of tape to see this time around when it comes to picking out things that maybe you didn't think or weren't sure maybe what you saw on the television tape there. Defensively though, man, they were just they were just having their way, being able to run that football against the Steelers defense and right up the gut too. Power stuff, and then all some pistol lead type stuff as well too. And that is what quickly got that number up over 200. When it came to the rushing yards there. So the inability to properly fill gaps in time. And I think there were some gap misses defensively in this game as well too. And that's what turns around. And you gave up obviously the double explosive play for a touchdown in there. And they had a lot of other successful runs in that as well too. They didn't do that great of job of containing Huntley, as much as probably what I'd like, but in the same breath, I don't think he killed them with their legs. So, I mean, you weren't going to shut that guy out from being able to run, run with his legs. It would have been interesting to see how Lamar Jackson may have been able to get them on a couple of those, on a couple of those that Huntley ended up taking off with, and Huntley not near probably. And Jackson's not one of the league's best quarterbacks passing, but Huntley was off the target on a few of those throws.
Yeah. I think defensively on some of those pistol lead runs that you mentioned, I thought Pittsburgh was gap sound in defending them. They just weren't getting off of blocks. And I think that was probably the bigger issue in the game on Sunday in terms of why their run defense struggled. It was less about guys not being in gaps. It was more about guys being in the right gaps, but no one getting off of blocks. There have certainly been games and moments this year where the defense has not been, sound with their run fits and guys just not in position. I didn't think that was as much the case Sunday. It was just more guys not executing. And that doesn't make me feel a whole lot better about it because you got to execute and get the job done. They did not. But that's kind of my interpretation of the shaky run defense on Sunday.
All right.
And then just, from the positive side of things, TJ Watt, this guy's getting double. He's getting chipped. He beat the chip and the double team, 3 times, got a pressure, got a sack off of it. I guess today, by the way, is the day we'll find out about the any potential stat correction, correct? Or at least we believe so.
Yeah, and after digging through some more stuff, statistical scoring rules, so to speak, and all like that, and rewatching that play a couple times, I'm going to be the bad guy here. I don't think it should be overturned. I don't think it should be changed to a sack. So Send your hate mail to theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. But I think Alex probably is along with me on this. I don't know if your mind's changed any.
No, not really. Hadn't thought about it a whole lot, to be honest, but we'll find out today if the NFL agrees or not, or what their conclusion is.
I mean, the only real argument I think that could be made in there is you say, well, it definitively was going to be a pass play.
Yeah, I think the best argument to say is that Huntley got back up. He had recovered the ball, and then he tried to get back up, and then TJ Watt had forced the fumble. So if you're going to give Watt the forced fumble, why not give him the sack?
Okay. But they do state in there, I think, in the scoring that you could have an aborted play and still having a forced fumble, with that. So.
Right, but you could also, I guess, in theory, have a sack with an aborted play if the quarterback did enough to turn that into a pass play. So
I mean, there is a lot of gray. Look, I mean, official score, in baseball too. There is a lot of gray area. Is it an error? Is it a hit? Those kind of things there. Mm-hmm. So there is some degree of gray area where you can make some arguments in this thing. I just think in the real time totality as things are written and what we see on the tape, it would take a lot more convincing for me to overturn it.
Yeah, no, I get that. Anyway, back to the All-22 review. I have a video today, and I'd mentioned this, I believe, earlier in the week about Pittsburgh defending the quick game of Baltimore really well. If you're going to give up 249 on the ground, you better play some decent pass defense. I thought Pittsburgh played really strong pass defense in a lot of ways, but defending the quick game, the rollouts, the boots, the 1- and 3-step game, the throws in the flats, the cornerbacks were aggressive. The open field tackling by the DBs was overall excellent. in this game and the pass game. And so that defending the quick game, which is kind of what Baltimore's leaned on with Tyler Huntley, was a big factor in keeping that score down, especially on third down and in red zone play.
And look, I mean, you got some, and we posted different angles of it on Twitter throughout the week as well too. You can boil this. Unfortunately, you can boil games down to 4 or 5 plays sometimes. A lot of times, and that knockout by Minka along the sideline there on that cover 2 hole shot to Huntley to Marquise Brown. I mean, if you don't knock that football out, how does that game end?
I think it ends right there. They're going to be at the 48, 49, 25 seconds left, 2 timeouts, and the best kicker in football. I mean, they're almost in range right there, getting another 5 yards. I mean, they're easily going to trot Tucker out there, and he probably makes it in the Steelers season, and Ben's career ends right there. So, yeah, you posted a great clip of the all-22, cover 2, and then even Minka adjusting his angle, like mid-run. He kind of flattened it out a little bit there, and then to have the technique to punch that ball out, just an incredible play.
I mean, that's why you go out and get a guy like that, right?
Yeah.
And that's why you shouldn't be surprised when he plays like that. Should be expected, I guess, there. But it's still remarkable nonetheless. He covered a lot of ground. Man, he's once he can get from point A to point B in a hurry. Still, I'll tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
That shows up for sure on the all-22.
Yeah, and just random sidebar. Speaking of safeties, the Rams are signing Eric Weddle. That's a name we haven't heard in a long time. Former Raven, was with the Rams in 2019. So the Rams are signing Eric Weddle for the
playoffs. Wow. Interesting. A quick other aspect about things that show up on the all-22. What about, I think one of those runs over to the left side there with, I think it was Huntley. That's another play where I think you see some of that Devin Bush burst.
Which play is that?
One of I think one of the scampers by Huntley over to the left side.
Okay, I'll have to go back and look.
And they ran him out of bounds, I think, over on that side. But if you go back and look at that play, I think you see some good burst by Devin Bush in that one.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it. The burst has been there. It's been. Everything else has been the issue. One thing I saw, go compare the Terrell Edmonds interception versus the incompletion in overtime it was, and watch how Marcus Allen and Devin Bush play that differently. I mentioned this back in training camp. I think Bush tries to create too much contact early in routes to try to jam guys and reroute guys, but he's too small and he's not going to have the physicality to do that. And if you watch the way Allen plays, he's just playing it without trying to make contact and just stay in phase and play tight to the hip. And when Bush tries to initiate contact with guys, he gets himself off balance and it creates space between him and the guy he's covering. So I think Bush needs to actually play with less physicality in coverage and more physicality in the run game.
Okay.
And just kind of an observation I've been kicking around for a little while now. Obviously, on the interception, it still was a pick, and it's still a good play overall. But just go back and it's a little different because Allen was kind of bluffing a blitz, and so it's not 1-to-1. But I've noticed that for a while now with Devin Bush.
What would you say? Where's the other play at in overtime?
Yeah, it was I believe it was overtime. The third down seam pass to Andrews that fell incomplete, that Allen was carrying. And Allen had great coverage on that play. You just watch Bush versus Allen in terms of how tight the coverage is. Allen is a million times better than Devin Bush.
All right, I have that circled.
And then Cam Hayward, just full grown man. I got the one clip of him just dusting Villanueva club swim over the top, and Cam Hayward, what a season, his best season, and that's crazy to say because he's had so many good years. But I think 2021 was his best year.
All right, offensively, what stuck out to you offensively?
I have a video going up tomorrow morning for the site on Deontay Johnson and some of those whatever you want to call it, whip routes, pivot routes, they call it return routes. Yeah. And I think for all the criticism that Matt Canada gets, and some of that is certainly justified, I think he really knows how to use Johnson's skill set well in low red zone, some of those third down situations, speeding man coverage in terms of allowing him to use his quickness in and out of breaks to create space. And you think about that 3rd and 9 play, overtime, game, season on the line, that's the call that they made. And so you have a lot of confidence in Johnson to beat man coverage there and create separation, which he had to do, and he did. And I think they do utilize that skill set extremely well.
I meant to go back and look at this. I forgot last night there. That out route slip that Johnson had in the game.
Yes.
All right. There was one later in the game to I think the ball went the other. I think the ball went the other way, but a similar route concept on that same side of the field that I think Ray ran. Was that at the same spot of the field?
I remember the first play, the incompletion right side, I believe on a third down that Deontay slipped on. I don't recall the second play, so I would have to go back and check.
The other one, oh man, I didn't circle it, and that's why I was going to have to go back and try to find it again. But the play I think went the other direction. I want to say it was a late second half play as well too. But Deontay Johnson, I think ran. I guess what struck me is I wonder if there was a spot on that field that the footing wasn't great because you saw Deontay go down as well. I mean, I know Ray McLeod go down as well.
Okay. Yeah, I know Deontay's had slipping issues, but the field conditions were bad. Boswell said as much. It was rainy, so I don't know if it was a Johnson issue. Is probably just the field was not very good. And Johnson slipped on that the third down before the 4th and 8 by McLeod catch. Is that what you're referencing?
I don't think so. Which
one?
Okay,
because the 3rd and 8 where Johnson dropped the ball in the in cut, he slipped coming out of his break initially. Before
no. I'm talking about a play that McLeod. The play did not go to McLeod, but McLeod you can see in the all 22.
Okay.
I think slip on one of those.
Yeah.
But speaking of Deontay, man, he's having a little bit of catch issues again as of late, right?
A little bit, yeah. I wonder if the Pro Bowl snub kind of got in his head a little bit. Ever since then, it's been a little bit rougher for him. Just kind of being in his head a little bit and probably regressing a bit. But again, the whip routes and he had some key catches against Baltimore. But yeah, that was the 3rd and 8 drop. Now he slipped, and so maybe that kind of threw off his timing a bit and the whole rhythm of the play. But yeah, hasn't been quite as good.
That needs to come to an end. You can't have some key drops against Kansas City, that's for sure. There, but I mean, the guy has. There are 3 or 4 instances in that game against the Ravens where just a separation. One of those on the quick slants there on the ball that went to him, that outside jab step, and I mean he just has the corner just flat-footed, and I mean just in a moment's notice he's like 5 yards separation on him. So I mean there's obviously a lot of great receivers around the league that can get off the line against press coverages. From that exposition, but Deontay's right up in there, man. You don't have to worry yet about him not having that separation skill.
My favorite moment though was on a pass he was not targeted. It was I think 2-man or cover 2, and he releases vertically and he gets popped in the face. Like the dude hit him in the face mask, his head jolts back, and he beats the corner though, and he runs through it and gets separation downfield, and probably should have been a flag. It was the Benny Snell stiff arm play where Joe Haig got called for hands to the face. It should have been a call for Baltimore for hands to the face, but I like to see the physicality there from Johnson, kind of running through press and taking a big shot and still running his route at speed. I thought that was actually maybe, besides the return routes, my favorite moment of the day from Deontay Johnson.
What about Captain Cam keeping control of that sideline with Deontay Johnson on that late play?
Yeah, it's a really good point. That was after the 3rd and 9 return route. There's a little bit of jawing on the sideline, and that's why Cam's Cam. And that leadership is so valuable in moments big and small, and stuff we see, things we don't. And it was really cool that Cam has captured that moment.
Not a lot of running room overall, period, with the running game. Boy, Patrick Queen, boy, he's come on, hadn't he? That guy making Ryan Shazier type just getting through untouched. Ryan Shazier, when he would make a lot of his plays in the backfield, a lot of them were just that quickness and right through gaps. And Queen, I think, did a good job of reading some stuff in that game. And just overall, the Ravens front did a good job of bottling up the Steelers' running game most of the game. In fact, I think we talked the other day that the very few successful runs that the Steelers had, 3 of them were by Chase Claypool, I think, there. And then, of course, one other one was the late run by Najee Harris that, to be quite honest, if Jimmy Smith plays that right, that's not going for 15 yards, I don't think.
No, it shouldn't have. But that play was the fake jet to Claypool. They gave up the middle to Harris. You think the ball is just going to stay down, and this is probably some faint praise, but Claypool's making some blocks downfield. He ended up picking up Smith on that play, I think it was, and threw a block for Harris, and he did that. I think last week or earlier in the game. I forget the context, but I think you've seen Claypool mature a bit these last couple of weeks and grow and show better effort and things like that.
I thought Joe Haig, for the most part, was okay at left tackle. That's another thing that stuck out to me in the game. LeGlue, not great. I thought Turner was okay, and I thought Okorafor was okay, especially in the pass game. Passing game, running game, not so much. There wasn't a lot to be had there in the running game overall, and we've seen that all season.
Turner's just a real physical dude. He got one of those junkyard fights. You couldn't see it on camera on the TV tape because they never cut away to it. But he mixed it up with Queen or somebody on one of those plays, and that's just kind of the guy Turner is, and you appreciate that.
It's not enough though. They're not getting.
No.
You can tell how bad that Cleveland front was now. A few weeks ago. Overall, and look, they're going to play a Chiefs defense that boy, Bolton's turned out to be a heck of a linebacker, hasn't he? We'll talk more about him. That's a guy the Steelers showed some interest in. I think Jerry Olsowski went out to that pro day, and you kind of got a sense that they really like Bolton, and he, I think, leads the Chiefs in tackles there. But that's another subject for Friday.
Yeah, I wasn't big on Bolton coming out. Thought he was too small, too slow, but dude's making plays like he did at Missouri. Bunch of tackles for sure. The last point on the run game, and you mentioned about Queen and kind of the plays that he made. You kind of felt the downside of motion in that game. On the one play that Queen blew up 5 yards deep in the backfield, he's just timing the motion of Claypool on that play, and they're trying to pull a glue, and he can't get there in time because Queen's timing it up so well. So we talk about the pros of motion, and there certainly are many of them. There are cons of motion as well. I think that play really summed up. Sometimes those defenders can kind of key, because as soon as Claypool runs past the quarterback, that's when the ball is going to be snapped to kind of is it going to be the jet? Is it going to be the handoff to the back? And so Queen timed that up perfectly and made the big play because of it.
It goes without saying that it was quite amazing that they overcame 2 false starts on that one key drive. So those kind of things you just cannot have if you're going to stay in this game against the Chiefs. And I thought, Mike Tomlin appropriately so kind of framed that game. And so, admitting, look, got the ass kicked by the Chiefs, and they did. And it doesn't help when you turn the football over 3 times in that game and you spot them 17 points on top of it, there. So once again, as we're going to talk about several times, the rest of this week, and I've already talked about, you're going to have to play a real near perfect game or have the Chiefs not play, have the Chiefs be the one that turns the football over 3 times in this game in order to win on Sunday night.
100%. You cannot turn the ball over at all. If you turn it over 3 times, it's
Eric Weddle. Man,
I know, 37. He's 37.
God,
what do they do? Crazy.
The guy's a smart dude. I tell you that.
Better be. I don't know if he can run anymore, but I see something to bring him back for the playoffs. This is insane. Anyway, any other special teams, anything on special teams, or any other thoughts on this game from the All-22 perspective?
Not overall. The defensive tape once again is probably more was the better of the 2 sides to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
They obviously, not a lot of pushing the football down the field in that one successfully. A lot of the same old stuff offensively that we've seen.
You had the question on Twitter, and I talked about it Monday. If Najee Harris doesn't snare that pass from Ben in OT, does Patrick Queen pick it off?
I'm not so sure now.
You don't think?
I'm not so sure. In fact, if he gets a hand on it and doesn't catch it, then it obviously up in the air. I think that gives him a better chance. But if he doesn't get a hand on the pass at all, I'm not so sure Queen gets that.
I'm just glad we didn't have to find out.
But it definitely is close. And look, it was a heck of a. Not only did he catch it, he got some yardage after it on top of it at a key point of the game. But going back and seeing the end zone view of it, I'm not so sure.
Last thing I should mention, and this is probably even better than the 3 plays that I wrote about Monday that people might have forgotten about. The 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8 throw from Ben to Freiermuth, left side, was just a beautiful throw, perfectly placed. You couldn't have handed the ball to Freiermuth any better, and that was on obviously the game-winning drive there on the Boswell field goal. And so talk about a big-time moment there for Ben and for Freiermuth, old and new, coming together to make a huge play. That was really cool to watch.
We've seen several times him, Ben make some, just throws that let you know that he can still make a lot of the NFL throws. You go back to that game against Minnesota, that one in the end zone to Freiermuth, man. He could not have ran down the field and placed that thing in there any better than that. We've seen him throw some of those out routes this season as well too. Some of those back shoulders just on the money. So it's not a lack of Ben not being able to make throws. Now he's doesn't have that interception. I don't know what he was thinking on that interception, because he didn't even step into that throw either. No. You want to talk about bad. Not only a bad decision, but bad mechanics on top. It is all bad. That's a don't teach. That's a don't do it teach tape right there. From several aspects of that play there. But just overall, from being able to make most of the throws. Now he's still not going to be one of the best down the field, more than 20 yards quarterback at this stage of his career. But he can make a lot of the other throws. The reason why he's at the end of the line is he just does not have the mobility anymore to do the things that made him a Hall of Fame quarterback during his career.
Yeah, well said. To me, the biggest issue with Ben is the downfield stuff that's become so limiting. It's less about velocity and some of the short intermediate stuff. It's anything vertical for sure. The boot game has been really bad. They could not get free money at all really the last 2 weeks. Teams are defending the boots and the flats, and some of those supposed to be quick, easy plays extremely well, and that's a problem.
I got blasted for picking out years ago about the turn in Roethlisberger's game to more of a dink and dunk offense there. And, that's exactly what has happened. I wrote an article back January 3rd, 2019, kind of reviewing, I think, what had happened during the 2018 season. And, have the metrics to kind of back that up. So this is kind of evolved over time, but it was really, really obvious, I think, during that 2018 season of how his game had kind of changed a little bit. And, still a lot of the big plays were coming, but a lot of them were result of Antonio Brown after the catch kind of big plays there, where this team has really, really lacked and sound like a broken record. I hate to keep bringing it up, but this team lacks the down the field catches for not just 20 yards, but the 45 and the 62 and the 98. Now you're not going to expect 98-yard plays, obviously there, but what this offense really could use a shot of, if they're going to stay alive in these playoffs, are obviously more explosive 20-yard plays, but they're going to have that 62-yard touchdown completion down the field kind of thing. If you ask me, if they can get a couple of those to go along with their normal 2 explosive plays that they have during a game, then that would go a long way additionally in helping this team knock off the Chiefs. And it would be nice if they could get one from Najee out of the backfield, whether it be a dump off or whether it be a straight run for 20 yards.
Yeah, that'd be one welcome addition for sure, that and cutting down turnovers. If you do those things, you will have a shot to beat the Chiefs for sure. But will it happen? We've talked about it so much. It's really hard to count or bank on anymore.
Right.
Last thing, I'll give you a mini stats of the weird here, just on the Steelers' run defense this season. Pittsburgh allowed 24 runs at 20-plus yards this year, by far most in the NFL. No defense has allowed more than 24 in a season since the 2011 Bucks. So that hasn't happened in a decade. A team has allowed more double explosive runs than Pittsburgh did this season.
As bad as they were against the run against the Ravens, they kept them out of the end zone. Is there something about it to be said about, let them have the ground yards, but don't let them have the red zone yards, because
blades of grass to defend. Yeah,
we've seen that quite a bit, and unfortunately, how many rushing touchdowns have the Steelers allowed this year of 20 or more yards?
I can look it up. Too many. Lions game, Ravens game,
Lions,
Vikings.
There was 2, right? Was there 2 in the Lions game?
Yeah, there was 2 in the Lions game. Yeah, I might have it.
See if you can write that down and look it up.
Of 20 plus yards, you're asking?
Yeah, runs. Not only runs of 20 plus yards, but touchdown runs.
Yeah, I can get that for you in just a minute.
And while you're doing that, I'm looking at the Ravens' losses to see the amount of explosive plays they gave up in those losses against the Ravens. The Ravens had 8 explosive plays against the Chiefs in that loss there. Now let's look at the Chargers' loss there. The Chargers had 4 explosive plays against the Chiefs in that win. Who else did they lose to? They lost to the Bills, and the Bills had, good Lord, the Bills had 7 explosive plays in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And who else did they lose to? The Titans also. I wonder how many explosive
maybe
plays.
Less there, but you'll need a couple for sure.
Believe it or not, 5.
There you go.
5 there. And who else did they lose to? The Bengals. And we know the Bengals explosive played them.
Jamar Chase alone had a couple.
In that game there. 5 explosive plays. So we're kind of cheating ahead there, but I think you would agree, and we might have even said it a few days ago there. Feels like they better have about at least 5 explosive plays in this game against the Chiefs.
Yeah, 5 explosive plays, no turnovers, get 1 or 2 turnovers defensively or on special teams. You do that, again, it's easy to say. I mean, you do that in any game, you'll probably win. But in a game like this, I think it's almost required. 4 touchdowns of 20-plus yards allowed by the Steelers' run defense this year, tied second most in football. Only the Jets allowed more, and the Jets allowed 5.
Okay.
So, not good. Historically bad run defense for Pittsburgh this season. All right, Dave. Ben speaking to the media, just basically saying, let's have fun. Let's just all have a good time and just kind of, as you said, playing loose, playing with house money, nothing to lose, no expectations. And that's a good mindset to have in the playoffs. An unusual mindset for Pittsburgh in postseason play.
Yeah, but it's not to say that this team obviously shouldn't have focus and all.
Mm-hmm.
The main thing should be, look, we are who we are. We just have to go out there and execute better. We can't have any of these false starts. We can't have any of these turnovers and all like that. I mean, they're in the tournament, man. And it doesn't matter how you got there, right? I mean, right. They're in the tournament there. But I do like the aspect, and they you can bet Mike Tomlin's going to use it the rest of the week as well too. Nobody thinks you guys can win this game, and when is the last time really, other than Super Bowl 30 maybe, and maybe the game against the Chiefs back in week 16, where really the talk was there's 0 chance the Steelers are going to win this game?
Yeah, maybe some of those Patriots games over the years where Tom Brady's just owned Pittsburgh, but even then you felt like you had a chance. But yeah, it's a pretty rare territory for Pittsburgh to be in, and especially in postseason play. And so I think that's a different perspective the team will have this week.
Right.
All right, Dave, anything else you want to talk about, or do you want to get to reader emails and close out today's show?
Yeah, how long are we into this thing? Hour and 10 minutes?
About that, yep.
All right, Chandler, morning, guys. Quick 2-parter here. Number 1, I've been curious for a number of weeks now, but has Zach Gentry's development been more credit to his playing time and gaining more experience, or has maybe his lack of playing time or availability been hindering the fans from seeing his abilities? Number two, do we think the Steelers match up in the trenches with KC better than a 36-10 score? I believe the turnovers were much of a larger problem than just being absolutely manhandled. Thanks again for the best content on the internet. Look, Gentry what did he have coming out of his first two seasons? Like 50 offensive snaps, Alex? I mean, it wasn't
roughly. Yeah, had a knee
many.
injury sophomore year, played more his rookie year. Very, very limited playing time.
And not only was there the limited amount of tape on him, the tape wasn't great, especially from a blocking aspect of it. Now, it was a small sample size, but it was not hard to go to that small sample size and really wrinkle your nose up because it was bad. Now, we did point out, I think, during the preseason that his blocking's gotten a little bit better here. And I think even going back and looking at some of the old stuff right after the draft there with him, he was one of the more productive tight ends for explosive plays down the field in his draft class. So this wasn't, the ability to catch the football and do something after the catch wasn't something that was kind of foreign to him. It's just, being a second or third tight end, you're not going to have a lot of opportunities. But man, I love seeing that fake bubble double, those fake screen, both those tight ends running a rail. And all like that. I mean, how many times have we seen that over the years? And that was another ball, by the way, speaking of ball placement, where Ben put that just outside of that linebacker over there. So kudos to Ben on that throw that we forgot to highlight on that play particular. But now that you've used that, are you going to turn around and use that play again? Long story short, Gentry's development has been a product of development, I guess you could say. And not an awful number two tight end right now, I don't think.
Yeah, he's never going to be the receiving threat he was at Michigan, and I don't think he can really do a whole lot after the catch. He's a very straight line.
Not going to be Matt Spate the blocker,
no.
But
I would just say, I think the experience has helped. Just getting consistent playing time, having a preseason. Guy didn't have a preseason last year to work, obviously, because of COVID. He was a raw guy coming out of Michigan. He was a quarterback in high school in New Mexico, played receiver a little bit early at Michigan, and just hadn't played a whole lot of tight end in his life. And James Daniel, the former tight ends coach who drafted him, said this guy's very raw as a blocker and has to work on that. And he's big and he's strong, but he's got to deal with leverage because he's a really tall guy. So I think as you just get more experience, you get more reps, you're healthy, you're available, that increases development. So I think it all kind of goes hand in hand, better coaching, better technique, and just the experience to learn, make mistakes, get better. And I think Alfredo Roberts is a really good tight ends coach. It's developed these guys nicely. So kudos to good coaching from Coach Daniel and Coach Roberts.
So where he is right now, I mean, for a 5th round draft pick, I mean, I think you got to be okay where he's at right now, right?
More than okay. Very pleasant surprise this season. He is what he is. He's not going to be a starter or number one tight end, but a big guy, big body that can deal with some of these base defensive ends and, have a wide catch radius in the pass game, at least has some value to it. But as a blocker, it allows you to not have to go, tackle eligible and kind of eliminate a passing threat, a potential guy. So, very happy with Gentry.
What are you finding with him and Freiermuth, holding on to each other there?
That was Raider, I think, on the clip that I posted. Yeah, they do that apparently on road games on some of those multiple tight end sets when the tight ends, two to a side and you're far away from the center and you really can't hear the calls. So maybe that's a thing Roberts has done for a long time. I don't know if that's on his Chargers tape with the guys he coached over there, but it's this little trick of the trade. I guess I'm cool with it.
Look, Zach Gentry after those first two seasons of his, I kind of wondered if he was going to make this roster this year.
Me too.
So. The fact that he is, and the fact that he's contributing, I think you have to throw that pick right now in the success category. I mean, plain and simple.
Yeah. I think with where he's at, and again, because I thought he was going to be outside looking in coming into the summer, does not have special teams value, but he's carved out a nice role.
All right. matchup in the trenches with KC better than a 36-10 score?
I don't know, maybe a little. I think the turnover certainly did play a big part in that, but the Chiefs are going to have the trench battle won in this game because of their O-line's good and physical and their D-line strong with Chris Jones. And so, yeah, I don't feel a whole lot more optimistic.
Where the Steelers are going to have to make this up is be better on the defensive trenches this time around. That's their only hope at making up the ground, in my opinion, in the trenches against the Chiefs is be better on the defensive side of things.
Well said. And
Chris Wormley, man, we joked about him a lot about how this guy owes this team some owes this team some snaps. Man, you want to talk about a silent win for Kevin Colbert here and train the way to get him? That guy's put together not a bad season.
Yeah, he's part of my terrible take today, actually. So that's a good segue there about Chris Wormley's season, just how good it's been and how well he's played. So good chemistry there, Dave. Way to read my mind.
We have good chemistry, don't we?
Okay, we do, I guess. All right. Anyway, speaking of the trench play, Mike Tomlin talking about Melvin Ingram. You can't trade for him one-on-one in the run game, but you can trade a 6th-round pick for him. You can't
conditional.
Yeah, that joke's a little less funny that way, a little wordier. Anyway, what other emails do we have?
All right, Bryce back in here. All right, fellas, no hedging your bets on this one. Rank these defenses of the last 20 years.
Oh God, you can't say don't hedge and then ask a question like that.
Don't hedge your bets, but rank these defenses on the last 20 or so years in order from best to worst. 18 Patriots, 02 Buccaneers, 08 Steelers, 13 Seahawks, 0-0 Ravens, and 15 Broncos. But don't hedge, Alex.
Do you know who you're talking to? I love hedging. It's the best thing I do. I think it's such a big question. The Ravens probably top. 2000 Ravens probably the best defense of that group.
It'd be 02 Buccaneers and 00 Ravens right there on 1 and 2, and I would probably put 02 Buccaneers.
Really?
Slightly maybe ahead of the Ravens. What is the go look at the adjusted net yards for passing attempt stat on both those two. But those. As soon as I read this, it jumped out 02 Buccaneers and 0-0 Ravens. So those would be the two right there at the top.
Yeah, I think I would still go with the Ravens number 1. I don't know who would come after that, though.
I mean, 15 Broncos on 08 Steelers definitely had a good defense. That 08 Steelers defense was good, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was. But I don't know how I would rank it historically in terms of all other teams. 2000, I was 7 years old, so forgive me for not being able to rank that the best.
And 18 Patriots, I'm trying to recall that one. Like it or not, Bryce, we're hedging. We gave you some quick analysis on that. Chris Lookart writes, do you think the Steelers turned down the right for Omar Khan to talk to the Bears?
I don't think they're allowed to do that.
Oh, no, it says do you think if the Steelers turned down the right for Omar Khan to talk with the Bears, that could be an indication that he might be the next man up? I don't think you can turn down the opportunity, though.
I don't think the Steelers are allowed to block it. Yeah, I think Khan could just say, no, I don't want to decline. I don't want to interview, obviously. And that would be a sign that he would be the heir. But, I mean, Khan's been interviewing for jobs left and right, did so last year and nearly became GM of the Texans, like we said. So I don't believe you can block the interview. But if it doesn't happen, then sure, that could be a signal.
Jalen Brown writes in, hey guys, super hype for the playoff coverage and thanks for the work on the site. I'll be quick. Out of all the NFL drafts, such as the NFL PA Bowl, Senior Bowl, I even just heard of something called the Hula Bowl. Do you know anything about, is there something, is there a Hula Bowl this year?
Yeah. I don't know a lot of information about it.
Is that an all-star game? I guess there is. See, that's, well, I bet one of you would love for me to send you to Hawaii, wouldn't you? No, that's in Orlando. I think it might
be in Orlando, okay. Yeah. But I would turn down Happy's Place on Earth.
Have you been to Disney World before?
No, never been. Don't have a real strong desire to go, but
no,
sounds overpriced.
The 3-finger rat scary or what?
Not sure what that means, but no, I don't want to pay $1 million for loud people to be around me.
it's always a thing. I grew up at different times, so a trip to Disney World was obviously huge back when I was growing up and a kid, and I think we did that once. Made the trek from Pensacola down to Orlando there. Don't remember too much about it overall, but I tell you what, me and my wife went to did the whole Orlando thing, probably not too terribly long after we had been together. SeaWorld, Orlando, all that kind of stuff down there. And we did it right in the middle of the summer too. And
so your unhappiest place on earth,
right? But luckily, I drank at the time still though too, and plus Busch Gardens had the beer gardens and all like that. And back then, you get Uncle Dave around the beer gardens.
Okay, so you're not allowed back at SeaWorld anymore. You were swimming with Shamu, weren't you, Dave?
But that was not an enjoyable. It was, I guess, enjoyable. I think we went with a couple of couples as well too. There's a lot I don't remember.
Yeah, it sounds like the memories here aren't strong
about that trip there. But anyway, okay, we have heard about the Hula Bowl now. Where do you rank these in terms of importance towards prospects draft stock? That's a good question, Jalen. It goes Senior Bowl, it goes East-West Shrine Game, and then it goes NFL PA Bowl. And then look, you have the what's the HB
HBCU bowl or combine that'll be in Mobile right before the Senior Bowl kicks off.
Right, that's another one. That's a new one that because a lot of those smaller schools, man. But the prominent ones go Senior Bowl, East-West Shrine Game, and then the NFL PA Bowl.
Yeah, those are the top three. Senior Bowl, Shrine Game, the top two for sure. But listen, the way the scouting is, scouts will find you. If you're out there, you got tape, you got talent production, they're going to find you. It's not the days of Bill Nunn where you can kind of hide and some of these guys were truly undiscovered. If you got talent, they're drafting from D1, D3, and probably some NAIA guys who probably float around the league as well. So they'll find talent.
Yeah, you can't take the reel of tape and hold on to it and not give it back.
Yeah, like Nunn did for Stallworth.
Also, Dave, we need more Fado Lakiri stories. Nah, Jalen, I'd rather not go there. That part of my life. I used to be an altar boy, Alex. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't catch on fire.
Yeah. There were some times. Anyway, Todd writes in, hey, fellas, has there ever been a time when the Steelers were underdogs by this current spread? Todd, I think I laid that out at the beginning of the show there. I remember so many times they've been favored by this many with poor outcomes, but never underdogs. Whatever happens, I'm pleased they made it this far. And for that, I'd say the season was a success. I never wish for a higher draft pick, and we'll take this result 10 out of 10 times. And Todd, I think as I pointed out 3 times previously, I think 12 or more point underdogs there. So this would make the 4th time if the line ends up 12 or higher there. Let's move through a couple more questions here. Jeff Berg writes in, Boz's kickoffs, playoff bound by the skin of our teeth. I was wondering what y'all thought about Boswell's short kickoffs against the Ravens. If I'm not mistaken, the Ravens returner was the best in the league, yet Boswell kickoffs seemed to land on the 10 all game, and then they were returned to the 35, which puts our defense at a disadvantage. Do you think it was intentional? Was it the weather? Would it make more sense to kick it deep into the end zone? Chiefs typically have a dangerous returner too. What say you, Alex?
What's he asking? Should the
did you notice the shorter kickoffs by Boswell against the Ravens, and should the goal be more of just put it in the end zone and take the touchback, basically?
Yeah, I would do so against Pringle, who's been a good kick returner. I don't know if that was intentional against Baltimore. Sometimes weather can play a factor. Obviously there's a game plan based on returns and your coverage unit and stuff like that. But yeah, I would have no problem with touchbacks every single time.
Let's see here. John writes in, Dear David and Alex, I've been laughing all day about the Trevor Kozora. Yeah, you don't find that very funny, do you, Alex? Completely awesome. Better than all the movie references combined. I suggest Trevor's middle name be Fungible or Minutia. Boy, I think we're
this
already...
poor child.
Yeah, well, I think we're already got Alex in some unsavory territory by having the first name named to this kid here. Hopefully we have entertained you like clowns. Thanks for the email. Could you post, Alex? Could you please post some breakdowns this week? This is from Chase Smith. Post some breakdowns this week of all those power runs yesterday at Devin Bush. I couldn't find an end zone view of exactly what he was doing there and what his alignment should have been, or if it was Spillane over pursuing whatever angle Minka took. I'm not sure who to blame based on the broadcast view. I think Alex has put some of those pistol lead runs up on there, and I think we've got I at least got a still shot of that home run by Murray, and them getting bodied up. They just got to do a better job of trying to get through this trash and fighting off blocks better here.
Yeah, I haven't posted a clip of the Murray touchdown run yet. Maybe I will. I haven't been able to decide who to blame. I think, again, just across the board, guys not getting off of blocks. I don't know where the alley was supposed to be, if Spillane was wrong, if Minka was wrong. It's a little hard to tell. It's a lot of bad. It's a lot of bad, yeah, for sure. So, Bush, again, it was a problem, but he's not the only problem. It's just across the board, guys not getting off of blocks.
All right, we have one Ben Roethlisberger interview to get to recap here. He already talked to the media, so we have got to get busy on the site here. So I think this is a perfect time to kind of end this show. Alex, any kind of final thoughts there?
No, we'll come back Friday, like I said, with Adam Teicher, covers the Chiefs, and talk KC and whatever else happens from now till then.
All right, and anybody know of any dating apps for bloggers? Is there such a thing for that? Sports bloggers dating app?
I think it'd be a party of one. Just be me on there probably.
Have you ever tried any of those or no? Honestly, how did that go?
Here. Why are you asking me this on a recorded podcast? Yes, I have.
I obviously, and even if I had, I couldn't say it loud right now. But that's all kind of foreign to me. So.
Yeah, I would hope so. You've been married for 20 years. Yeah. I hope it's foreign to you. Yeah, I've tried them. They've not gone well.
They're not gone well. I don't see how you could pick out somebody just off of not knowing them that way. You know, of course, I've been there. You know,
I think you've done that. Some 2:00.
Yeah, it hadn't gone well. Some hole in the walls before either. All right. With that,
let's end this now.
Just the gap between me and you, thank God we have football, because I couldn't imagine some of the things kids have to go through these days. No, but in the meantime, we'll watch more football so we stay on common ground together here.
Okay.
Follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. What dating app did you use, by the way? Or why
are you asking me this? What are you going to use this information for?
Just for my own entertainment purposes.
I mean, I've been on a couple. Hinge
Tinder?
Briefly, I wasn't a big fan of Tinder, though. Hinge is like the most popular one that I used, and I'm on there. If anyone wants to swipe left or right, I don't know how it works.
What about the farmer one? Have you tried the farmer?
Not tried the Farmers Only, Dave. Can we please end the show? Can we please cut?
I bet you would have some success on the farmers one.
Why would I have success on
Because you're kind of like that kind of wholesome kind of farmers,
not a farmer,
kind of guy there. I mean, you're too damn perfect, to be honest with you.
Oh my God.
That's you need some edge to you or something like that. Some edge. I don't know. Anyway, follow me on Twitter.
Thank you.
At Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter, on Tinder or the Edge or whatever
the Edge.
Hinge. Okay. At Alex_Kozora is probably the best way to contact him for a date. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. Also, if you like what we do and we entertain you like clowns, go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button, upper right navigational bar. These dating apps aren't cheap, I would imagine. There's a PayPal link up there. Also, if you'd like an ad-free version of the site, go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button, upper right navigational bar. All right, I have effectively made Alex blush over a podcast once again. So with that, we look forward to entertaining you again on Friday. As always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.